Well, I think this one's going to give us a big challenge today. This is a 2005 Yamaha Raptor 350. So the seller stated that he cannot get this thing to run. He said he's got countless hours trying to diagnose it. He said he's dropped it off at friends' houses thinking they could fix it. They can't fix it. He said many people have looked at it, can't figure it out. He said it's a really, really weird problem. So he said it all started after a long ride. He went to go fire it back up, and he said it wouldn't fire. He started digging into it and found that there was no spark. So he decided to buy a new stator for it, swap that in, actually got spark, but he said it was running really crappy. So he ordered up another stator, thinking maybe it was a bad stator, and a brand new top end rebuild kit. Put the new stator in, and again, no spark. That's when he bought a new coil for it, thinking maybe that was the problem. Again, no spark. So he's really stumped on this one, so that's why he posted it up for sale and sold it to me for 500 bucks. So today's goal is going to be to use the parts we have, the two stators, the top end rebuild kit, the coil, and hopefully get this thing to have spark and run right. That's the goal. I'm hoping it's something he just overlooked, but it could be something major like a CDI, or maybe the stator he ordered was incorrect, maybe the coil was wrong. You know, it could be a multitude of problems. So let's go ahead and get this one off the trailer. We're going to start looking at it, and we'll see if we can get this one fixed up today. It should be a pretty good challenge. Alright, taking a quick look at this thing, you can see it was last registered in 2025, so I don't think it was lying about when it was last running. This thing's got an aftermarket pipe on it. Tires aren't too bad. Little ball on the front. Plastics are all kind of just hanging on here. Seats off of it, so you can definitely tell he's been working on it. Looks like possibly a new spark plug in there. Yeah, it's loose. He said he bypassed one of the wires here, trying to get spark. Yeah, all the stator wires are out. Looks like he probably was testing those. You can see all the gasket maker on here. So he was trying. He was trying to get spark on this thing. So let's get this one in the garage and we'll start digging into it. Alright, we got this thing in the garage. Let's start taking a peek. So first thing we're going to do is confirm it's a 2005, just to make sure that they ordered up the correct stator for it. Alright, so looking at the VIN here, the 10th digit is a 5, so it is in fact a 2005, so hopefully that means he ordered up the correct parts. Let's take a look at the oil, see what that looks like, see if this thing was running. Looks like brand new oil. I'm guessing he probably filled it up with brand new oil after the stator swap. I guess he had to swap it 2 times, so that would make sense. Alright, so oil looks good. That's filled up all the way. See if there's any gas in it. Yeah, there's gas in it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take off all the plastics and try to find the ignition switch so we can turn this thing over and see what it's doing. So, seat coming off. Alright, getting a closer picture of what's going on. Take a look at the air filter first, make sure we're not sucking anything in to the engine here. Alright, K&N air filter in there. It's got the ProTech lid. Fancy stuff here. Let's see. Petcock working? Yep. Let's see if the gas looks good. Because he said with the one stator installed, it had spark, but it was running like crap. So I wonder which stator that was. I'm guessing the one in the box on it right now. He said the original stator he threw out thinking it was bad. So gas looks good. No signs of water in the gas at all. Alright, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and tighten down that spark plug and we're going to see if this thing turns over and what it's doing. Alright, the coil wire's up here. Throw that on there. And the ignition is right down here. Turn that on. Alright, looks like it lit up. Neutral light came on, that's a good sign. We're going to choke it. Got the kill switch in the run position. Crank it. Cranks over just fine. Yeah, it's not doing anything. There definitely is not spark. Not backfiring, not doing anything. So I'm guessing he's got the stator that produced no spark on here right now. Or, you know, it could be something other than the stator as well, causing no spark. But neutral light comes on, that's a big indication that that is working and that's fine. So all the wiring coming from the neutral switch down there is good to go. We don't have to look into that. He said he bypassed the switch here. I'm guessing that's the clutch safety switch. I'm guessing. We can look into that as well. And then you can see the new coil here. It was soldered into place there. We've got the ground wire coming from here. That's ground to the frame. They checked a lot of the grounds and everything like that. So let's go ahead and confirm the no spark situation. See if that was accurate. Get this plug out of here. It looks to be a brand new plug. I'm guessing he's tried many plugs trying to get this thing to fire. Let's see. Huh, doesn't look new. Looks like it was firing at one point with this plug. We've got NGK DR8 EA plug. Alright, let's throw that on there. Let's see if we get any spark. Alright, let's see what we get. Turn this back on. Oh, there's a spark there. You see that? Alright, let's see what it's doing. No spark. Let me wiggle the kill switch wire here a little bit and just see if we're getting anything. Was that something right there when I was doing that? Let's see, when you turn it off, it seemed like we were getting spark initially. Let's see. I'm hearing something when you turn the key on. You hear that? You can hear a click. Let's see. You see that little bit of spark coming out of there? We go on with the key and then off. See that? Why would it be doing that? That's weird. So on with the key. It's sparking when you turn the key on. Weird. Now watch, I'll turn the key off and then back on. Seems like it was getting spark there. So there's definitely no spark when turning it over. But there's some when you turn the key on and off. Alright, so what we're going to do is start diagnosing this thing. Because obviously we have no spark. So first thing we're going to do is try a new plug. Try that first and go from there. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is try a different plug here. See what happens. You never know. That. It's almost like a pickup coil problem or something. Yeah, so still no spark with the new plug. But we're still getting spark one time when you turn it on and off. So turn this thing over. Turn it off, turn it on, and it sparks. But that's about it. Alright, second thing we're gonna do is check the boot. Make sure this boot's good on the coil. You never know. It looks like a brand new coil. Just gonna check the boot here. You can see some of the wire exposed, but we'll cut that back and try this again. A little bit more. There's a good solid wire there. All right. Twist this back on here. Good contact. Let's see. All right, turn this thing over. Nothing at all. All right, so same problem here. Nothing at all here. All right, let's start by the battery, kind of work our way back to the coil and to the stator. So battery, we're going to check for 12 volts there and make sure all the contacts are good. Maybe it's just low voltage and it's not cranking fast enough. That could certainly be the case. We're going to look for any pulled out wires, broken fuses, stuff like that. Voltage check, it should be well over 12. .1. Okay, so what we're going to do is throw a jumper pack on there. See if turning it over faster produces spark. Plug here, ground it out. Alright, let's see what we get. Turn this on. Go. Haha, look at that. So there's spark every once in a while. You see that? It was sparking. Haha. Not consistent at all. me just move this. So there's spark. Huh. Does it look inconsistent? That looks like pretty good spark there. Huh. This is really odd. The seller was not kidding. I don't know. That looks like awesome spark now. What the heck? What is going on here? Okay, this is really strange. All right, we're gonna turn the jumper pack off. Now I'll try to turn it over. Nothing. Turn the jumper pack on. Really good spark. It seems like it needs really good cranking amps to produce spark. But when we first hooked it up, it seemed like spark was kind of inconsistent, and now it's really consistent with the battery pack. I don't get it. This is really odd. All right, so now we have spark with the jumper pack. Oh boy. We are going to test compression here quick, and then attempt to fire this thing up. All right, take the plug out for now. So compression should be right around 120, it said, with throttle open. So let's see what we get. Maybe there's low compression. All right, so throttle open, and we're gonna see what the heck we get here. Open, go. That's 150, 60, 70, 80, 90, 190 PSI. That is really high. So that definitely checks out. Wow, that is really good compression. We should not have an issue with compression at all. So let's go ahead, throw that plug back in, and we'll see what happens here. Great compression. And now we have good spark. Let's see if this thing fires up. I would be amazed if it was just the battery. That would be insane. Jumper pack on. Get our gas hooked up here. Choke it. Turn it on. There we go. Nothing. Nothing at all. Doesn't want to puff over. We're going to take the air filter out, spray some starting fluid in there just to see if it pops over here. Alright, let's confirm we still have spark. Alright, let's see if we lost spark again. I'm wondering if when we put the spark plug back in, it doesn't crank over fast enough now to produce spark. Let's see what we get. Let me turn this thing on. Here we go. Let's see if we get anything. Yeah, really good spark. We're getting spark. Let me put the plug back in. And then we're going to hook up another spark plug to the boot and see if the engine is spinning fast enough to produce spark with that compression now. So we'll hook up another plug to it, see what happens. Let's see if we still have spark. This should be interesting. If we still have spark, something else is going on now. Alright, hopefully you guys can see that. I'm guessing we're not going to have it. Alright, turn this thing on, crank her over, let's see what we get. Yeah, we have spark, it's just not very fast. Sparking every revolution. Got spark. Huh. Alright. This is bizarre. Alright, get this plug out. Plug back in. Here we go. Yeah, the airbox started on fire there, so I think timing might be off on this one. It's definitely not sparking at the right time. It is not firing at all. And you can see it shoot the flame out of the carb. So it's almost like the intake valves are opening at the wrong time. Alright, let's dig a little further. I'm still not ruling out the spark situation. It still seems like that spark's a little bit weird. Alright, before we go checking timing and all that good stuff, let's quick check and make sure all the grounds are good and that the fuses are good here. So let's get these fuses off. You can also check the connections in here. Make sure nothing's corroded. Nothing's pulled out there. There's a 15 amp fuse there. That looks good. We'll quick check it with the multimeter. We'll hear a beep, we should be good. Yep. Put that back in. Wires look okay. See if we're getting 12 volts here. Yep. The CDI is underneath here. Couple of wires underneath here. That one was kind of loose going to that relay. Let's see what this relay is. See what's underneath there. Black wire went to here. Check the CDI for any pulled out wires. Everything in there looks good. In this area, all the connections, everything checks out here. Checking over the CDI, it doesn't look like it's cracked. No imperfections in the actual CDI. A lot of times with a bad CDI, you'd see cracking around here where water can get in, corrode those connections. Not seeing that anywhere on the CDI. So far all that's looking pretty good. Let's quick do a stator test to confirm that the stator is actually good. Alright, so here are the plugs going to the stator and the pickup coil. Let's get these disconnected, check these out, and we'll check and make sure our stator's fine. All those connections in there look good. We can disconnect this as well. These are the stator wires. Those all look good. Everything there looks good. So let's do an ohm reading test on all these wires. All right, so I was looking up ohm readings for this machine. This is a 2005 Yamaha Raptor 350. I cannot find any information on this stator for ohm readings. So I don't know if it's not out there. I tried to look up manuals, couldn't find the exact year. All they have are the Warrior 350s, and it's not the exact same stator. So we're kind of in the dark here. I think that's why the seller was having so many issues as well. But we're gonna go through it and just test them. If you guys know the readings, let me know in the comments below. But I do know that the green and the blue is the pickup coil. So let's see what that's at. We should have resistance here. 0.463 kilo ohms. And then it looks like blue and white and red is the source coil. Let's see what we get for that reading here. We're getting 0.4 ohms, 0.3 ohms. Doesn't seem like a ton. And then these are just the stator wires, and you want 0.7 ohms between each one. We're not getting anything there. So from 1 to 3, nothing, nothing. There we go. That one's good, but this wire is not getting a reading here. So that's not getting a reading at all. And it should between all 3 wires. So we've got that other stator. Let's kind of compare, see what that one reads. These are both the same. We know that the readings are most likely good. So here is the other stator. We've got the 3 white wires here. So we should have 0.7 ohms between each of these readings. Yep. Then we're going to switch. Yep. See, this stator is already better than that one that's on there. So these wires are for charging. This wouldn't have been charging the machine. Let's go ahead to the pickup coil right away, which would be the blue and the green here. See what we get. Nothing. 0.526. So that's pretty similar to the 0.4. It was like 0.48 or whatever we had in the other one. So that should be good. Pickup coil on both are pretty close. And then the source coil is going to be the red and the blue here. Let's see what we get for that. Should be like 0.4 ohms. And we know that's good too. Yeah, that's the exact same. So both stators are reading the exact same, except for the actual stator wire here is not picking up a reading. So both stators are the exact same readings. So that tells me that the stator is most likely fine. I'm guessing it's probably not going to charge if we do get it running, but it shouldn't affect the way it runs at all. So that's kind of how you do the reading when you don't have any specs to go off of. It'd be very, very unlikely that both stators have the exact same readings and they're both bad. So I'm guessing the stator is fine. So because both stators have pretty much the exact same reading, we're going to assume it's not the stator. We're still not going to rule it out until we can find the exact readings we're supposed to have. And I looked on eBay to look up a diagram for the stator to see if it is OEM, the one that's on there. And I can't find any pictures of an OEM stator for a 2005 Raptor 350. It's like they're very, very rare. I don't know, it's very strange. We're gonna move on. Let's check the timing. We saw that flames were coming out of the carb, which would mean that maybe it's sparking at the wrong time, which could be a CDI problem or a timing problem. So let's go ahead and check the timing first. Crack these free. I feel like there's still something wrong with the spark, but I want to rule out valves and timing before we check anything else. It's just weird that it only sparks with a really good battery. You'd think it would still spark when it's turning over slower as well. Just seems like something's going on with that. Get that off. Most likely it is. All right, both covers are off. Tap out of here. So we're going to be turning this to top dead center. And we can also check and see if that Woodruff key is sheared off as well, or a top dead center mark here. Nothing yet. There's the T, right? Nope, that's F. There's T right there. You guys can probably see that it's pretty clear in there. T with a line. Coming up here, let's see. Yeah, clearance feels good. Yep, you can hear them clicking. So not tight intake valve or exhaust valve. We can check the specs on those in a little bit, but let's check the timing next. See what we are at here. All right. Timing chain feels a little bit loose, but it's not like horrible. Timing spot on too. You can see the line right here, lined up with the arrow there. So it's not a timing issue either. This is getting weirder and weirder. All right, let's go ahead and check and see where that piston is in the cylinder. We're going to check and see if that woodruff key is sheared off on the flywheel. If the woodruff key was sheared off, there's no way the piston would be right at the top of the cylinder still. So that's a good way to see if the woodruff key is sheared off. So that's right at the top of the cylinder. So timing is spot on. All right, so intake valve should be set to 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch, and the exhaust should be set to 6 to 8. So let's see what these are at. Yeah, definitely enough clearance there. And the exhaust valve, let's just check them. 6 to 8. Make sure there's enough clearance there. Yep, plenty of clearance on the exhaust as well. So these are going to be perfect. All right, so valves look good. Timing is spot on. And we know that the woodruff key is not sheared off. So before we check any other electrical issues, let's go ahead and clean out the carb and rule that out before anything else. On here. Choke out, see if that's working. Alright, let's see if that was working here. Yep, choke was working. Alright, carb is out. Let's start digging into that and see what's going on. Looks really clean in there. Float's working. Get the float out. Pen came right out. See what that needle looks like. little bit of gunk on the needle. I wonder if there's gunk in the gas tank. It's coming through, clogging stuff up. Take a look at that seat. The seat looks pretty good. I believe there's an O-ring underneath that seat here. That'll be why it's overflowing the carb. Let's take a look at that O-ring next. Let's see if we can get that out. Yeah, that pulled right out. So I think that was the problem. This O-ring is shot. Really brittle. Look at that. So that's why it was overflowing the carb for sure. All right, let's take a look at the main jet here. Let's see what we've got. Looks like we're running a 138 for the main. That was clear. Got the little starter jet here. Let's see what that's at. Looks like a 70. That is clear as well. You've got your pilot here. Pilot was also clear. Looks like a 22.5 for the pilot. Yep, that is clear. Molten tube. Those are all clear, looking good. So everything looks good there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fuel screw next. We are 1, 2, exactly 2 turns out on the fuel screw. Let's see what's going on with the diaphragm. That all looks good. Got some sand in there. Let's see if the diaphragm is ripped. Diaphragm looks good. Needle nice and tight in there. Everything looks good on the carb. Let's quick take off the last piece here. This is for the choke circuit, I believe. I think there's a diaphragm in here as well. Let's see here. Spring. You've got your little diaphragm here. Don't want to rip it. Looks good. You can hear George sleeping in the background. That's the check valve there. That's not stuck, that looks good. Can you guys hear it? So we're gonna let this carb sit in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we're gonna blow through all the jets, put this back on, and see if it fires up. I'm hoping the bowl was just overflowing from the O-ring being bad. I was just dumping in the cylinder, but that's wishful thinking. I think there's something else going on, but we'll try it. We'll rule this out before we move on. All right, body of the carb going in here. Got our bowl going in. Got the jets going in here. Let those dangle. And a little choke piece. All right, we're gonna let these sit for about 30 minutes. All right, so 30 minutes later, carb is out of the ultrasonic cleaner, looking good. All the jets are blown out. We're going to get the new O-ring on the seat here, and then we can install the carb and hopefully it won't leak anymore. All right, let's get the carb on. Choke back on here. Well, timing is spot on. Valves are perfectly within spec. Carb is all cleaned out. We have good spark from the plug, only when the jumper is hooked up, unfortunately. So let's see if it at least fires up now. Gas on. All right, now we know there's something going on with the spark. It's gotta be sparking at the wrong time or not enough spark. Something's going on. So it's either gonna be the stator or the CDI at this point. All right, I think what we're gonna do now is replace the stator with the other one we have, just in case one of them was bad. To drain the oil, we need to take off that bolt there. All right, here's the filter, the spring and the cap there. All right, letting that drain out. Looks like pretty new oil. All right, on the stator side here, to get the cover off, we have to take the bolt off here first. This piece pries out. Like that. Ball these out. All right, Let's take a look at the stator. See what's going on. Alright, we can check out the flywheel as well. See if that woodruff key's lined up. Alright. Here is the stator. Right here. Pickup coil is right here. Not seeing anything out of the ordinary while looking at it. Alright, well, we're going to get the stator out. And then while we're in here, let's take a look at the flywheel. See if everything looks good in here. See if the magnets are lined up. That's very magnetic still. Woodruff key. Is that still lined up in there? I think that's lined up good. We can take off the flywheel. Yep. Here. Alright. Oh, there's some metal shavings. Let's see. Woodruff keys in place. Alright, looking at the stator here. Physically, I'm not seeing anything wrong with it. Doesn't look bad. And there's another piece here that comes out. This is the stopper for the wires here. Kind of protects them. Flywheel. Alright, we got that last one to budge here. Oh, I thought we did. There we go. What was on there? Alright, back side of the stator. Nothing really looks bad. That looks like compared to this one. Looks the same. Well, I think what we're gonna do is put the new one in again, because the seller said it was running on that one. At one point it was just really boggy. Alright, this wire right here was a little bit longer than the other one, so I tucked that in there a little bit better. But we got that figured out. Alright, got the flywheel back on. Let's get the cover back on with the stator. Alright, cover going back on here. One gets plugged into here. Alright, let's see if that makes a difference. Get the plug back out and we'll see if we have spark without the jumper. That would be a great sign if we had spark without that jumper pack hooked up. Alright, here we go, turn it on. Oh, it's still doing that spark thing. Oh, we're getting spark. Oh, that's good. Check that out. We're getting spark without the jumper pack. That is a great sign. So it must have been the stator causing issues. Okay, perfect. Gives us a little hope here. Alright, we installed the new stator and we're getting good spark without using the jumper. We're still going to use the jumper pack to turn this thing over and attempt to start it, just because that battery is kind of weak. Go, choke it. Still nothing. The heck? it would start up for a second and die, and it would backfire out the carb and then die. So it'd start up again, backfire out the carb, die, and it wouldn't rev out at all. It was like the timing was way off is what it sounded like. So something's going on with it. I think it's not sparking at the right time. All right, so it starts up once in a while, but it takes a long time to get there. And as it starts, it doesn't rev up at all. It's just like a constant, like, horrible sounding noise, and then it backfires out the carb and dies. So we are going to do a leak down test on it and just confirm that the valves aren't staying open at top dead center, and we'll mark that off the list once we confirm those are good. Let's go ahead and get our fitting in here, and then we can add compressed air to it, and we're going to be listening for air coming out of the carburetor or out of the pipe. If it's coming out of the carburetor, we know that the intake valves are not sealing properly. If it's coming out of the pipe, we know that the exhaust valves are not sealing properly. If you can hear the air escaping through the cylinder, we know that the rings are pretty bad. So let's hook up about 20 psi, see what we hear. Let's see if the compressor is on the right thing. All right, hook it up. So we get nothing at all. Huh. No air out of anywhere. Not hearing anything. Just a little bit out of here, which is normal. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Nothing out of the pipe. So it definitely passes the leak down test. That is not the problem at all. Well, I think we pretty much checked every single thing on this machine, and it still will not run right. So right now we know we have great compression at 190 psi. It passed the leak down test, so we know that the valves are seating properly. The valve clearances are perfect, timing is perfect. The carburetor we went through, all the jets are good, all the diaphragms are perfect. What else did we check? The safety switches and the neutral lights work. So we've got neutral and reverse working. So we know it's not a problem with the neutral wire or reverse wire, which is right here. I know those can cause issues. So the reverse wire is grounding out. This one does not have a parking brake switch on it, so we know it's not that. The clutch wires we bypassed and just tied them together down here. And I tried disconnecting them as well. So we know it's not that. And really the only thing it could be that's causing this thing to spark at the wrong time is the stator or the CDI. The stator, we don't have the ohm reading test for. So if somebody wants to leave that in the comments for me, that would be awesome. I just cannot find it. I looked for probably 2 hours today trying to find the specs for the stator on a 2005 Raptor 350. I can't find them. I can find them on the later models of the Warrior 350, but there's nothing on the Raptor 350 from 2005 and up. So if somebody has a manual they want to look in for me, that would be awesome. But we can't rule out the stator until we have those specs. And once we rule out the stator, we know it's the CDI. But what's weird is this stator had the exact same ohm readings as the other stator we just pulled off, except this one has spark now. The other stator, you had to crank it with the jumper pack on it to get spark. So this stator is definitely an improvement from the other one, but I'm wondering what's going on with that. It's almost like it's the wrong stator completely. So I think the first thing we have to do is rule out the stator. We have to get the ohm reading specs for those and figure out if the stator is good or bad. Once we can determine that, we can then determine if it's the CDI. So if the stator is good, we know for a fact it's a CDI. So if the stator is bad, it could be a bad CDI and stator, or just a bad stator. So the best case scenario, we rule out the stator. If the stator is good, we can just buy a new CDI. That would be the easiest solution. If the stator is bad, we're gonna have to buy a new stator and probably a new CDI to rule this out. And I think the easiest solution to figure this one out is going to be to swap parts. So what I might do is look for another 2005 Raptor 350 that is in running condition and just swap over the parts. I think that might be the easiest way to figure this one out. I can't find any used stators up for sale anyway, so that's kind of a problem as well. There's new ones for this machine for like 250 bucks, but that's kind of a big risk, you know, spending 250 bucks, waiting a week, and having it not be the issue. So I think the only solution, like I said before, is to buy a used running machine and swap over the parts. Or if any of you guys have running machines and want to send me the stator or CDI to test out, let me know in the comments. That would be a huge help. But otherwise, I think we're kind of stuck here until we can find another machine. So this one is, this one's a challenge for sure. I now know why the seller gave up on it and sold it to me for 500 bucks. I mean, we've got like 8 hours into it and have made no progress whatsoever. All we know is that it's not the engine for sure. Everything checked out on the engine. It's gotta be either the stator or the CDI. But next video, we're hoping to get this one to fire up and run reliably. That is the goal. So again, if anybody has used parts for one of these laying around, or if you want to rob them off your machine for a couple weeks and let me use them, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'll be looking for a 2005 Yamaha Raptor 350 to swap over parts. So until then, I don't think we can fix this machine. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This one going through all the diagnostics work, checking everything over, ruling a bunch of stuff out, and you know, getting pretty close with this thing. It wanted to fire, but I think the timing from either the stator or the CDI is causing the issues. So hopefully next video, we'll get this one figured out and solved. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.